Hi, my name is Marina. When I was 6, my life felt like it was flipped upside down. My mother and I moved away from my father because she found my father's son had sexually assaulted me. We moved from Belarus to Latvia, and she at the time was a drug addict and an alcoholic. By the time I was 10 years old, I already missed more than a year of school because I had to watch my little sister, who was only a couple of months old, and my little brother, who was at the time a toddler. I had to watch them while my mom was out for multiple days on end. Back then, I didn't know what God's hand was always over me, even as bad of times as then. Back then, I wasn't paying attention to God. I was only focusing on surviving, just making it through the day without getting in trouble with my mom. A little after I turned 11, my mom lost her authority over us. And my little sister and I went to different orphanages. It was always my fear.
Where are you? You want me to help you read? Okay. You want to help? Go ahead.
To go to an orphanage because my mom used orphanages as a joke about putting me in ever since I was a small child. Once I got there, my little brother by then was with his father and me, and my little sister got split up in two different places because she was very little and couldn't go to the same orphanage as me. During the first days of me being there, I already had gotten on everyone's bad side somehow, and it wasn't pleasant because people kept accusing me of things I would never do. In the first month or so, my mom kept coming over and visiting me there, but after a little bit, I didn't know where she was living, or I didn't know what her even contact number was, so I had absolutely no idea where she was. By that time, I started to go to a church that I went to while I was growing up and found out a lot of people sent reports to put me in an orphanage. That made me very angry. I was bitter at the people there, but mostly I was bitter at God for letting them do it. And for a long time, I stopped going there because I was just full of bitterness. But by the time it became summer, that bitterness faded away, and I recognized that they made the right decision of doing that. That summer, I went to church a couple of times before I was hosted for the first time in America. This was the first time I experienced being loved in a very long time. I spent the whole Christmas break there, and the family loved me, and I loved them. I didn't think they would host me a second time after being hosted the first summer, but they brought me back for hosting at Christmas time. I was very surprised when they decided to do that, and I felt as they might adopt me, because usually that's what people said in the orphanage if you go to the same family more than once. They're planning on adopting me. So I was excited to do that and couldn't wait for them to adopt me. I hoped they would adopt me, but God had a different plan for another family to love me and host me first. Even though my first two host families didn't adopt me, they did love me, and I got to experience being loved while I lived at the orphanage through being hosted. After I was hosted by the two different families, I was hosted by the Worth family. I really wanted to be adopted, but I didn't know how hard it would be. I was adopted into the Worth family after they hosted me one time. I know that Hyacinth and John, but all the love they were giving me made me feel guilty, and it made me question why they loved me so much. I didn't understand their love because I didn't think I deserved to be loved that much. Throughout the 4 years that I've been adopted into my family, I've hid my emotions, shut myself down from people, and built up a wall so high that even the closest people to me couldn't break them. But I knew that sometimes those walls needed to come down, and I couldn't pretend that I'm okay, which is when I hit the lowest, or the low for myself. I was trying to feel loved, but there was this guilt and misbelief that had built up for so long that I wouldn't believe in myself. But even though that was going on, I asked God to help me through it all. I asked God for forgiveness one night at youth group because I was just feeling so sick of not being able to accept love. I was just so sick of not being able to talk through what was going on in my life that I broke down. But God had a plan for me. He had a well-thought-out plan for me. Sometimes God allows us to be broken so we can come into true healing through Jesus' love. Today I want to be baptized because I have decided to follow Jesus. I want to walk in his plan for my life, and I know that being baptized is a step of obedience. I have made a decision to follow Jesus the rest of my life. because I want to be part of who he is.
Marina, you are one of the bravest people I've ever met in my life. I love you so much, and God loves you so much more than I can even fathom. It has been a joy to watch you as you grow and make your faith your faith. And so, because of your confession of Christ, it is my honor and my joy and my privilege, my dear daughter, to baptize you in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit.